Welcome to the July 2024 Power Platform Community Call. This is David Warner with Quisitive, and I am live with the community. Today is July 17th. How did we get this far into 2024 already, everybody? We are in the second half of the year, but time flies when you're having fun. And of course, we are having fun. So let's talk about what it is that we are going to talk about today. We've got our community resources we're going to cover. We're going to talk about some community samples that are open to each and every one of you. Of course, we're going to have our famous group picture time with Together mode. So get those fantastic faces ready and cameras on. Then we've got three amazing all-star presenters of the day. EY is here. He's going to talk about managing and tracking Power Platform capacity usage over time. Val is here. He's going to cover the solution deployer to centrally manage reusable components. I am excited for that one. And Josh is going to round it out, harnessing the power of low-code in model-driven apps. And by the way, did I mention every single one of our presenters today is a first-time presenter on the call, everybody. So we need to show them some love and excitement and welcome them to the call. Now, first, normally I'm here with my good buddy Shane Young. Well, Shane can't be with us today because he's in Jamaica. He is on vacation, so we understand he's got to take that time with the family. But I've got some notes from the field. I guess it's more like notes from the beach from Shane. He wanted to say, don't sleep on Power Pages. Was just chatting with him this morning. Don't sleep on Power Pages. On Power Apps, there's lots of new changes coming out, he said, but don't be hasty. Don't jump into them. Specifically, no experimental features in production apps. So make sure you stay safe, stay smart, and stay powerful. See what I did there? Powerful. All right. Let's get back to our agenda and, of course, those resources that are available to each and every one of us in the community. There is a lot of them. We've got our Microsoft Community Learning videos. This is from our Microsoft Community Learning channel. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. We've got our LinkedIn group for discussions and updates. This is an interactive way for you to collaborate with other members of the team and the community in LinkedIn, a great, wonderful way to share also some of the things that you're doing. We've got our open source initiatives, our sample galleries, so our Power Platform samples, our Power Platform prompts, all the other community samples across the Microsoft stack is available. And you don't got to memorize all these URLs. There's no questions or test at the end. Don't worry. But there is one that you want to remember, aka.ms/community/home. That will absolutely give you instant access to all of these resources that are 100% free. So take advantage of them, collaborate with others in the community, and do awesome stuff. Now, I mentioned that community learning channel, the Microsoft Community Learning Channel. This is not a brand new YouTube account. It's the same one that we've known and loved. Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community is what it was called. It is now called Microsoft Community Learning. This is just an opportunity for us to expand the landscape and be a little more inclusive to all the different technologies that Microsoft is putting out. So you've got things like Copilot and Dynamics 365, amongst all the other technologies that we use each and every day. It's an opportunity for us to include everything, and you will see that. Of course, all the community calls will be hosted there, as well as the demos that are broken out from those community calls. And did I mention community calls? Well, we've got another one. Of course, it's the Power Platform Pro Dev call with Mark Schweiger. His team does a great job. You can get access to this by going to ak.ms/ppdevoo. Kind of just rolls off the tongue, but we love it, and you'll love it too if you're in the pro dev space, so take advantage of that. And as you're watching today, we absolutely encourage you to be part of the calls. You may think, I've got really cool stuff that I do each and every day, and it may be a full solution, it may be a small practical feature or utility, it may be a small component. That's okay. We want you to share it on these calls. As I mentioned, we've got first-time presenters all on the call today, and we love it. So don't overthink this, folks. Don't think that you have to solve world peace or world hunger or make time travel possible. Great Scott, you don't have to worry about the flux capacitor. Show off what you've created that you're passionate about. There is always new ones in the community that are looking for ways to get started with something, and I promise what you show will be the beautiful part of their day. So don't hesitate to get involved. All you got to do is go to ak.ms/community/request/demo. That form is there for you to fill out. And if you're looking to co-present with someone, if you need a buddy, well, we'll provide a buddy. It's a buddy system, and we'll work with you. You can put together the presentation together. You can even present together, and it makes it a little easier. So don't hesitate. It's a very welcoming opportunity, and this is a great way to get started if you're looking to speak at events or conferences. Wonderful opportunity to get involved. So please take advantage of this. We would absolutely love to empower each and every one of you. All right, let's get into some Power Platform samples, and we're going to kick it off with Kate.
Yes, hello everybody. So despite this summer season, we have one marvelous sample in the Power Platform Samples Gallery. The sample is from Manish Solanki, and it illustrates how you can embed images in the email body and images more than 1 megabyte. So it's completely free and unmanaged, so give it a try. Go to the Power Platform Sample Solutions Gallery, download it, have fun, and learn with it. And moreover, I encourage everybody to share your work. We would like to see what you have done with Power Platform in this gallery. If you would like to know more, follow the link that you can see on this slide or ping me via LinkedIn. I'm here and I'm ready to help you, and let's grow together. That's all from my set for today. Woo!
Woo! Awesome. Thank you, Kate. That is fantastic. And yeah, everybody, you are welcome to contribute to this. There's Power Platform samples. There's Power Platform prompts. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But this is open to each and every one of you. And Kate does a fantastic job. She's very open and approachable. See, she's got the great smile. So definitely get in touch with her if you'd like to contribute. It's real easy. No problem. And you're thinking, but isn't that using that hub of Gits, that Git of hubs, that GitHub place that is confusing? Yes, it is, but it doesn't have to be. And why? Because we've got your back. Sharing is Caring is that program that's here to provide hands-on guidance. So what does that mean? It means that we join live Teams calls together. We walk you through how to accomplish a variety of tasks, one of which is submitting samples and contributions to GitHub. You'll know by the end of that call how to fork and clone and submit a pull request. And even if those terms are foreign to you right now and you're like, I don't even know what that is, fork, I'm not hungry, clone, I need more people to do my job for me. Well, don't worry. We're going to walk through it together. And by the way, it is 100% safe space. That means we don't record it, because I know when it's recorded and you think, should I ask this question? Does somebody already know the answer? Oh, should I know the answer to this question? It can be unsettling. We've all been there. I've been there. So absolutely go and get involved with Sharing is Caring. We're scheduling out the next samples contributor session soon, and we will get you involved and get you on your way to contributing, and everyone will love it. And it's an opportunity to collaborate with others in the community. All right. Now, once you have contributed to the community, we want to recognize you, and that's where our recognition program comes in. This is absolutely free of charge. It is powered by Credly. Yes, that same Credly that used to provide those badges for the certification. These are official and accredited badges that you can associate to your LinkedIn profile, that you can put on Twitter. You are able to show that you're making a difference. This makes a big deal for you if you own your own business or you're working in an organization that has managers, which I think between those two people is 100% of people, because it shows you're going the extra mile. So you want to get that raise that shows that you're doing something different. It shows your clients that you're making a difference and involved. So we definitely encourage you. It is absolutely free, aka.ms/community/recognition. And the beautiful thing is we're going to be coming out with some fun summer samples. We're talking about doing a Promptober for October. April Dunham had a great idea there. We've also got the Season of Getting coming up and all those fun things, slice of samples that we had last year. So a wonderful opportunity to get involved. Badges are great. I know Ralph is excited, and so we all are excited. So definitely get involved there for sure. Now, there's some community events and shows coming up. I had mentioned Chicago's coming up this weekend, actually, which is great. We've also got TechCon 365. Seattle is in the books. It's done. DC is coming up in August. Dallas is coming up in November. Of course, we've also got the Power Platform Community Conference coming up in Vegas in September. Lots of folks are going to be there. Shane will be there. One to say he's looking forward to seeing everybody there. Hugo Bernier and myself will be there. I know a number of other folks in the community will be there, so we're excited to see everybody. April and I believe Daniel might be there, so great opportunity. Scott Duro, lots of those famous names and friends that we are excited to see. And of course, that's not all. If you go to aka.ms/community days, that is a great opportunity to show off the shows that you are part of, right? So if you're hosting an event, then you absolutely can get that on that website. These are some of the July, August, and September events that are coming up. So take advantage of it. Some are in person, some are virtual, some are hybrid. I know Chicago is hybrid. Hugo Bernier will be on site. I will be here in Los Angeles. But nobody knows the difference between who Hugo and I are anyways. Everybody thinks we're the same person. So definitely get involved, everybody. We would love to see more events like this and love to see 3 or 4 or 5 columns of data. So we really, really appreciate all the effort that goes into that. We know it's a lot of work to make these events possible. All right, well, what time is it? It is picture time. So turn those cameras on. We will get things moved over here to together mode. And for those that would like to be part of it, I will start up Camtasia. And there we go. Good, good, good. Excellent. We are seeing, I'll move it into the screen. All right, looking good, everybody. Couple more seconds for those that would like to flip that camera on before we start the recording. Good to see. I see Appy there. He's getting those hands ready. He's ready. He's got them. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. See Kate looking fantastic. Excellent. Okay, let's give this a go. 3, 2, 1. All right. We actually closed. All right. All right. Wave, everybody. Wave to the crowd. Looking fantastic. Great to see everybody. Thank you all for being the best part of our community. You really, really are what makes this an awesome, awesome community by working together with everybody. So we appreciate all that you're doing. Okay. All right, well, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program, and that is going to bring us to our presentation. So UI is here. He's going to talk to us about managing and tracking Power Platform capacity usage over time. UI, if you'd like to take on over the screen share and have at it.
There we go. Screen share is taken over. Great.
Excellent.
So, thank you so much for the opportunity to come on the call. I have to admit, I am slightly nervous with a massive number of amazing people on the call. But possibly something that people have not yet seen, which is why I thought it would be great to talk about it. So this is me. This is a really good picture of me. You won't probably see good pictures of me. I took a really good photographer like that. And I do a lot for badges and a variety of stuff in the community, and that's all my social. If anybody has any questions, please do feel free to reach out about this. But what I want to talk about is capacity. Now, capacity is really important because it's where we store all our data. Dataverse for Teams has a maximum amount of 2 gigabytes. Full Dataverse has a lot more. In fact, I've seen Dataverse instances of more than a terabyte. Now, as an architect, which is one of the hats that I play at times, when we come to projects and we implement projects, we take a look at licensing. I pulled this out of the licensing guide earlier today. If anybody hasn't ever seen the licensing guide, and has problems sleeping sometimes, just go and read it. Hundreds of pages. It's great. I guarantee you, you will not learn a thing from it, but you will be fast asleep. But here, and I've outlined it in red because I try to get the whole power stuff in one slide, licenses come with capacity. Now, it depends on the license you've got. If we talk about full Dataverse, we have file capacity, which attachments are stored in. We have database capacity, where our records are. And we have log capacity for audit capabilities. Dataverse for Teams does not have the audit capabilities within it. But when we approach projects, we say, right, what are we building? What are we doing? How much data are we going to import and migrate if it's an existing solution that's being held elsewhere? And we make sure that we've got capacity in place. There are also capacity licensing, list price $40 per gigabyte per month. But it doesn't just stop at Power Platform. This is what the Dynamics 365 licensing guide, Power Platform 1 wasn't bad enough, looks like. You get to look at this matrix and you go, you've got a combination of sales and service and God knows what. And I mean, it's premium licensing. It comes with a lot more capacity as part of it, which is nice, but you still need to go and take a look at it. But that's when you start off, right? How much data are you migrating in? Work on it. What is your day one going to look like? I'm sure people can start thinking of the problems with this. So, day one, you should know what the data is if you're migrating in. If you've got no data in there, great. You have no data, you have no attachments, you have no audit history, that's there. So the answer to how much data do you currently have is nothing. If you're migrating data in, generally you have some sort of idea of how much data you're actually bringing in. 5 gigabytes, 50 gigabytes, 500 gigabytes, plus attachments. Although attachments, ideally, of course, you should not store in Dataverse. You should store in SharePoint. Much better place for them itself. But businesses will say, what am I currently going to do? Where can I see what the amount of data I'm currently holding? Now, I'm not going to flip in and out of the demo. I'm going to do the whole demo at once. So I'm going to just go through these different questions. The second one is, what's gone over time? What was my data last month? What was my data 3 months ago? How much additional stuff is coming in? Who's been idiot enough to dump 50 million rows in because I didn't know where they came from? That's more challenging to do. And then they turn around and go, right, we're coming up for our budget approvals. How much data am I projected to have in 6 months or a year time so I can get budget approval to get the licensing that's there? Now, if you're not on the top of this, you need to keep going out, because generally if you don't keep your data pruned and tidy and you get rid of all data or you archive it somewhere else, it just continues to sit there and grow. I was working with a government client a while ago. I'm going to be very careful that I don't give any indication as to who they are. They had purchased 1.5 terabytes of additional Dataverse storage, albeit at EA pricing, so they were not paying $40 a month. But a Microsoft sales rep was very happy because every month they went, we need another 70 gigabytes of storage because we have a massive more data that we didn't plan for. But it throws budgeting out the window. It gets people very, very annoyed. You also can't do things like create new environments or spin up test environments or all the rest of these sorts of things. This presents challenges and a problem. So enough of the slides. Let's get on to demonstration. And the first place I'd like to start is in the PPAC, Power Platform. Platmin. I just made that up. I might use that. Power Platform Admin Center. Well, you have on the side here, you have this wonderful thing called resources. You've got capacity. It shows you your environments. Now, it's saying I'm using 0 amount of Dataverse across all my environments. I'm using 0 of my file. I'm using 0 of my log. Okay, I happen to know I have environments with data in there. And if I go to Dataverse, I don't have any Dataverse for Teams environments, so I didn't spin it up for this, but we can actually see over here again, it's saying 0 usage, 0 usage. I've got something in my default, but it's under 3 gigabytes, but I'm not too worried about default. But then if I actually take a look at the details of the environment, which I've imaginatively called EY Kalman's environment, it then says, hold on a moment, you've actually got stuff in there. So what this shows, and this is invariably because you've got Power Platform admins and clients who are going, oh, we've got Power Platform Admin Center, we can go take a look at it. And then I say, yeah, but your data might not be quite correct. This actually refreshes on an async basis once every 24 hours. So if you migrate 2 terabytes of data, no, it does not immediately show up. And you have tables which do interesting stuff. In fact, you have the async operation table, which is very annoying because that generally grows with stuff and you need to prune it. But it's there. It's not particularly great, right? In fact, it's really not particularly great at all. You only get 30 days worth of this that you can see. You can download table usage and such, but it's only 30 days. So then you go, right, okay, Center of Excellence. I love talking about Center of Excellence and Center of Enablements. And they go, okay, we've installed the toolkit. I say, great. And they say, what can we do with it? I say, well, you've got your list of environments. It brings you back all the list of environments you've got in place there. And they say, great, so we go take a look at the environments. I don't mind the GUIDs being shown on this being the recording. I'm really not too worried. So it's great, governance. Can't see anything yet about capacity. Capacity and add-ons, yes! Hold on. Percent used, approved, right? We can go in and we can start setting, approval records for it. Can show add-ons if we bought additional capacity. Right, we can start setting, how much percent do we want to be used that's approved capacity usage. Now, what you say here about approved capacity usage doesn't actually stop you shoving in data. But you can do a little bit here, but it doesn't actually show you what you're actually looking for, which is, how can I see my data usage over time? Now, there is no way to get this out the box with the native tools that Microsoft has. But there is a bit of play around on the API layer, which is what I took a look at. And I have built a solution, which incidentally I am going to upload to the PMP, though I do have a GitHub repository. I'm covered on all fronts on that. And I built something which I call environment capacity tracking. And what this does is you've got your list of environments again. And then you have I've got a table called capacity tracking. And what this does on a daily basis behind the scenes with some funky little code in unbound actions, it goes and it takes a look at all the environments being returned. And it takes a look and it parses it out in terms of database capacity, file capacity in both, and I've done this in both megabytes and gigabytes, just because people like both of those, file capacity and log capacity. If it's Dataverse for Teams, that was the little wrinkle, which gave me errors at the beginning. It doesn't have a log capacity, so it errored out when it was trying to parse that, so we had to put in some exception handling. And then if we go and take a look at environments, we now have this capacity tracking, which will show me the figures over time. This runs on a daily basis and will return us again if you've migrated 3 gigabytes or 300 gigabytes worth of data in. It's not going to refresh until it manages to get stuff through the API behind the scenes. And then they go, great, what can we do with the data? And I go, well, we've got out-the-box dashboards. So I've got a weekly dashboard, which shows lots of data. Now, I actually have filtered this to a specific environment just for the purpose of this, but this can show across all your environments the amount of data because it is captured per environment. So you can report on that. So you can see on a weekly basis and see wonderful trends historically and a monthly basis. So you've now got a history of what you can have in place. And they go, okay, so we've addressed the what do we have now with actual data that's showing rather than in PPAC, which doesn't show properly. We've addressed the what did we do previously? What did we have historically in terms of the amount of data so that we can say, for instance, this is why we needed this much capacity and we can prove it. How do we do this going forward? Assuming we're just going to keep loading data into Dataverse. And for this, I turn to Power BI. Now, I'm not a Power BI person, and I want to publicly call out Laura Graham Brown, who's an absolute guru in everything data, Power BI and Fabric, and who has very patiently helped me through trying to get this in place. Now, this does not look sexy. It does not look fun. I am not a graphics UI UX designer, unlike a lot of other people on the call. But what this does, and if I manage to zoom in, again, this is filtered to just that environment I was showing. It uses the AI capabilities for projection based on historical data. Now, obviously, you need to get the data in place. The actual sample I'm running it on is small because I realized that actually my Power Automate flow turned itself off for about 3 months and it needs data on a regular interval to be able to project. But it gives you these lovely lines which says basically, if you're going to continue, you are going to have in 20 days 5.5 gigabytes worth of data. Sorry, this one is the file one. I meant to switch the layout of this around, but attachments, assuming you're storing attachments there. And then with a high, upper bound and low bound. Obviously, this is projection. The reality, if again somebody is wonderful enough to go and start shoving in lots and lots of data or turns on an integration and starts doing that, the projections will be out. But this can help customers go and start projecting what they will have. Ideally, you're going to want this over several months, if not at least 6 to 12 months. But it will start seeing if you start loading data in and then at some point you archive and then you load data in and then you archive, it does actually, the projection, which I've been playing around with, does actually work to a point with this to show how that pattern and the trend over time can work. Now, there is already a version of this solution on GitHub, which is up there, which I will go, and this is the GitHub URL. I'm going to be uploading it to PnP as well. There is a version 2 coming, which now has the Power BI dashboard, plus some tidying up of the Power Automate flow to make it more optimal. As well, the solution that's currently there relies on the Center of Excellence Starter Toolkit being deployed because it sits on the top of that. This new version will actually be 2 versions. The first one will be a COE version with the upgraded capabilities. The second one will be native Power Platform if you do not have the COE toolkit deployed. So that's going to be the V2 because not everybody has the starter toolkit. It does require the Power Platform admin connectors in the background to pull things through the API. But I found it very helpful for clients. I'm allowed by the partners that I work in to mention it to clients because it's something that's nice, it's free, and it enables them to be able to understand and start reporting on it over time. So with that, David, I'll hand it back to you.
Awesome stuff, EY. Thank you very, very much. This is a great way to kick off the demos today. Thank you for sharing that. We're excited. I've shared the chat or in the chat the link to your GitHub site. We are excited to get that into the PnP repos though. So thank you for offering to do that. We can work with you on that and really appreciate it. Great, great stuff. All right, everybody, we are going to move on to Val. He's going to talk about the solution deployer to centrally manage reusable components. I am excited for this. Val, take it away. I see you, but I'm not seeing you unmute yet. Feel free to share. You should be able to share your presenter.
Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry. My Teams just decided to crash right at the time of sharing my screen. So here we go. I'm going to share it again. Can you all see my screen? Okay?
Yes, it is showing up for now. Fantastic. Excellent. Thanks, Val. Take it away.
Wonderful. Super. Thank you. So before I start, I just wanted to maybe see a show of hands if there is anyone in this call who is currently involved in the Power Platform Center for Enablement team or Center of Excellence team, or anyone involved in making the platform a success in their organization or for their customers' organization. That's super helpful for me to know. So, okay, I see a few hands up, but in any way, this is my case. So I've been working in a world like this for a little while now, and there is a very common challenge that I face many times, which is how can we centrally maintain some reusable solutions and components and widely deploy them in the organization? And there's many situations when you might want to do that, right? Maybe it's a component library we want to share to everyone in the company. Maybe it's a custom connector, or maybe some specific child flows, or even some Dataverse table with some specific metadata that are related to the company that we want every environment to have. And so how do we do that? There are a few things available. Yes, there are the Power Platform pipelines, but those are more adapted to deploy a solution from one environment to one another. There are the Azure DevOps pipelines, which can be configured, and these give quite a lot of flexibility. But here, the setup might take quite some efforts, right? Especially if you have many new environments created regularly, you will need to set up those pipelines for each of those environments, and the complexity to maintain it can be a little bit tedious. And that's the Power Platform catalog. So this is a fairly recent feature. It's in preview. It's an in-product catalog for the Power Platform. And in many ways, in terms of functionality, that can solve a lot of our problems. One of the inconvenience, though, and I think all the admins there will have heard about it a lot, is that it's only supported for managed environments. And so if you are in a position where all your environments are not managed, because that would maybe cost too much for now, you will not be able to use the Power Platform catalog as a single solution to deploy your solution and reusable components in the organization. And so this led me to ask myself a question: would it be possible to build something to allow to do just that? And this is what I did. I share it on my blog, and I give the link afterwards. And the principle is very simple. We have a source environment, and on this environment, we have all the reusable solutions that we would be maintaining, and we want to deploy those to multiple target environments. Let's call them target environments. Now, that's the context. Let's move into the demo. We can see here on my test tenant, I am on this source environment that I call demo source, lack of creativity. And on this environment, we can see many solutions that I might want to deploy in the organization to many environments. One of them is only containing a component library solution. Another one, the demo global solution, contains a few other stuff as well. It also has the component library, but it has a child flow, connection references, and environment variables used by the child flow. And let's consider we want to deploy those to many environments. Those environments, we call them target. I have 4 of them: demo target 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they're all empty. There's no solutions on those environments right now, except on the 4th environment, where I have already the demo global solution, but of a former version. So this is the 4003, and the one we have in the source is the 4000. 004. It needs to be updated there. Now let's look at the solution deployer, which is the solution I created that I share openly on GitHub. That solution contains a bunch of stuff, including 3 environment variables that need to be configured to use it properly. It can be installed in any environment that you have. It doesn't have to be either in the source or any of the target environments. And the first environment variable that needs to be configured is the one that will define what is the source environment. You have another environment variable that I added later on to define what are the publishers that you want to consider to deploy the solutions. So you definitely won't be interested in deploying the default solution, for instance. So by defining this environment variable, you can make sure that you will only have some selected solutions available for deployment. The other things contained in that solution involve model-driven app and a bunch of flows that allow to do the deployments. Now let's look at the model-driven apps. This is the solution deployer model-driven app, and on the left we can see the target environment page, which is basically all the environments you might want to deploy stuff to. If you have the COE kit installed, I share another solution with a data flow that will maintain this list of environments from your COE kit. But if you don't have the kit installed, then you can also create those environments manually. And you will only need to indicate the name, the ID of the environment, the SKU is informative only. You will define on those environments by default, do you want to deploy things as managed or unmanaged? Now, there's not many situations when you'd want to deploy them as unmanaged, but you still have the option there. And then you have two accounts to define. The target owner is the account that will own all the underlying components of your solution in the target environment. So me as an admin, I don't want to deploy solutions in an environment and then have my account or my service account owning all those objects. So this is what you can define here. And then in some situations, there might be connection references in the solution, but you might not want the owner to set the connections on the environment. So you can define a separate user who will have to log in and set the connection reference on this target environment for the first deployment. Once we have all our target environments, we can create a single deployment. Let's start with that. If I go to the deployment table, I can click add. This will open a custom page on the right. This page will use the environment variables that we've defined to connect to the source environment and find the solutions available on that source environment with the publishers that we configured. And let's deploy simply the component library solution for now. I can see all my target environment. I will select the number 1. And here you can overwrite whether or not you want to import it as managed and whether or not you want to change the target owner or the account to use for the connection reference. In that case, we're happy to keep it as is. I click save. And what it's going to do is simply add a row in our deployments table with a status as queue. And this will trigger a flow called the solution exporter, which will now run. And essentially, the export of the solution is done with an unbound action of the Dataverse connector that allows you to export solution as managed or unmanaged. And this is pretty much what this flow does. It exports the solution. It saves the attachment of the package in the item. So now we can see the two packages, unmanaged and managed, are attached to this Dataverse item. And the status is now set to exporting, which will trigger the exporter flow that we said. But once it's exported, it will then trigger the importer flow, which is another flow. And this one will also use some unbound actions for the Dataverse connector to import the right package, whether it's managed or unmanaged. And then it will do a bunch of things. First, it will run a chat flow to update the ownership of all the underlying component of that solution to set them to the right owner that we define, the target owner on that environment. Then it will run another child flow, which will check if there is any connection references in that solution after the import that is not mapped to an actual connection in the environment. Because if that's the case, we want to make sure those are mapped so that the flows can run successfully. This will typically be needed during the first import before that any mapping has ever been done for those connection references. Another child flow will do the same for the environment variable to identify if there is any environment variable without a value on that solution in the target environment so that it can be remediated. And finally, the last child flow will run to notify all the relevant users to let them know about the deployment and if there's any mapping needed to finish the setup of the solution. Coming back to the model-driven app, if I refresh, it's now showing as completed. It has been imported. If I log in with Pradeep's account here, it's a test user, I have received an email to let me know the component library solution was imported in the target 1 environment. And so if I click on this link, it will open the solution from the target 1 environment, which wasn't there first. And I can confirm that the solution is now there. Now, you might be wondering, I show you this, but it seems a bit like a joke, right? We were talking about deploying a solution to multiple environments, and so far, the only thing I demo is how to do a single deployment. And this is when the solution subscriptions come in. So this is another table where you can create a new subscription, select a solution. In that case, let's go to the other one, the demo global solution. Select how many environments you want to subscribe to this solution, click save. And this will create a row in the solution subscription table. You can see all the environments subscribed to our demo global solution. You can add and remove environments as you need, and you can click deploy. And if you click deploy, this will trigger another flow, which will essentially create each individual row for each individual deployment in our deployment table. And so it's going to take maybe a few seconds. And we're going to see our three new rows created here. If we go back to the deployment table, we can see that that solution is now, the demo global solution is now being deployed to our three environments, target 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is going to trigger all of the flows I was showing earlier with all the chat flows to first export. And then in a minute, you're going to see that it's now being imported. And very soon it will be finally imported. The process is actually a lot faster than doing it from with the Power Platform pipelines. I think they're doing some additional checks there. I want to give big kudos to David Wyatt here, because I wasn't aware of how possible it is to export and import solutions just with Power Automate. And with all those checks, all those things, I really sourced this from a blog from David Wyatt. And this is what allowed me to create this solution in the first place. Now, conscious of time, I just want, while it's finalizing the import, I'd like to note it's not perfect. There are a lot of some limitations, things that can be improved. One of them is at the moment you have only one source environment, but also if you want to upgrade the solution in a target environment, you will need to manually upgrade the solution version from the source so that it really proceed to the upgrade. This could be automated. The notification process could also be improved to make sure that you inform users about the changes from the last deployment. All those kind of things will deserve to be improved. Going back to our model-driven app, there is one that has been completed. So let's now move to Adele's account. On Adele's account, Adele has received an email on the target 4 environment to say that this solution was deployed and nothing else, because the solution was already there. So the connection references and the environment variables were already mapped. However, on another solution, on another environment on the target 3, this is the first time this solution was deployed. And so the environment variables and the connection references were never mapped, but the solution is managed. And so they need to be updated from the default solution. So by clicking on this link, Adele is able to access that default solution in the environment tab, environment variables tab, and she's able to set those values for the environment variables. She will be able to do the same for the connection references so that the solution and the chat flows can run successfully. And that's pretty much it. You can find this solution. There's a bunch of other fixes available there as well. You'll find it on powertricks.io. You'll find a bunch of other reusable solutions and the link to my GitHub repo where you can download them from. In the future, I'd love to make them available in one of the community GitHub to open it for contributions. So that should come at some point. Thank you.
Val, the really, really cool stuff. Thank you so much for this. You really are powering us up with your stuff. So thank you. This is very cool. People are really excited. There's some questions in the chat. We did put the links to everything there for you all in the chat. We'll include in the show notes if you're watching the video as well, to the GitHub and his blog that talks about it. So really cool stuff. All right. Josh is on deck, harnessing the power of low code in model-driven apps. Josh, feel free to take on over the screen share and take it away.
Thanks, David. Yeah, let me just share my screen here. I'm working on my laptop today, so hopefully I get this right first time. Let's see. Perfect. So harnessing the power of low code in model-driven apps is the title session. So just a quick intro to who I am. My name is Josh Giles. I'm a solution architect at a company called Bridgel, based up in Scotland. I'm also Scotland-based in the Central Belt. I also organise the Scottish Power Platform user group. Check it out if you haven't or you haven't heard of it before. It's a great community where we run sessions mostly monthly, in person and virtual. My background's in M365, so infrastructure and SharePoint. I also own a blog. Again, check that out with the QR code below. I try to blog about interesting, cool things and just general things that kind of catch me out from time to time, which hopefully can help someone else as well. And also connect with me on LinkedIn too, if you want to have a chat or just generally talk about anything. So to kickstart with harnessing low-code and model-driven apps, I want to kick off with custom pages. And custom pages are pretty cool. And just before I actually get into this, I want to say I'm a massive fan of model-driven apps. I'm constantly shouting off the rooftops about them. Anyone that knows me knows that I talk about them probably a bit too much. But I think they're great. But also acknowledge they've got some limitations. And this is the whole point of this, is just to kind of show that we can work with that and kind of overcome them. And the first one I want to showcase are custom pages. So what are custom pages? They're effectively canvas apps in a model-driven app. They give us that kind of pixel perfect customization. We can drag and drop, make things responsive, customize it to our heart's content, really. We can also use record context. If I've got a model-driven record, I select it, I can then use that context in my custom page as well. I can pass multiple records as well. So if I've got a grid of records, I can pass all of that record context into a custom page too, and use it in something like a gallery, for example. I really like them for landing pages. Again, model-driven apps aren't necessarily the most beautiful looking things. So having a nice landing page where we can actually just kind of add a little bit of pizzazz, if you will, into them is great. So something I'm finding myself doing more and more. And the look and feel as well. So just to kind of move on to the next slide on that, look and feel is really important with this, due to model-driven apps being obviously something that's given to us out of the box in a certain way. So we want to almost match how a model-driven app looks in our custom page. And templating the design of that is something that I consider pretty important to do. So I've got like a library where I can just basically import a custom page, be it a form or a table type view, and start working on it to customize it how I want. With the introduction of the kind of copy and paste of YAML that's come in recently, although it's in preview, it makes it even easier because now we're just copying the code rather than having to worry about anything else. And yeah, we want to match that existing look and feel with what we've got in the model-driven app. So what's next? Modern commanding is the other one I want to talk about. So we've known about buttons in model-driven apps for a while. We've been able to use things like Ribbon Workbench, or for those of us that maybe want to be a bit more extreme, we can directly edit the XML files. I'm not one of them, but I'm sure some of you are. Modern commanding just simplifies the whole thing. It allows us to create, drag and drop buttons effectively onto the ribbon and create actions on them with Power Effects. So that's great. So we can now actually leverage Power Effects with these buttons to kind of deal with the on select and the visible rules. Where things get a little bit more complex, JavaScript can still kind of reign supreme there, but for patching or controlling visibility based on context of a record or something like that, they're great. So I feel they're quite a good kind of introduction into customization in a model-driven app. JavaScript can be a bit more complex, and if you don't come from a pro code background, then this is the perfect choice. So some small tips here that I wanted to include that we might not be aware of. So we can actually open custom pages using the modern commanding and Power Effects. It's mainly just for opening the page up in line. If you want something like a side pane or a dialogue, you still need to use JavaScript. But if you want to open up a custom page in line and with record context, you can do that with Power Effects. And for things like button visibility, use Power Effects as well, unless it gets a bit more complex. Then again, JavaScript reigns supreme there. But you can combine the two where needed, so you can get the best of both worlds. So the final one I wanted to talk about was low-code plugins. These are still in preview, but these are pretty awesome in what they can do. Effectively, For those of you that know what a plugin is, that's traditionally C# coding to do server-side actions. Low-code plugins takes away that C# requirement. So if you're not a pro code developer like myself, we can now harness low-code instead, which is great. I can use Power Effects to do what I want, and it's going to execute server-side and be very performant. We've got instant and automated options, so we can actually call these through a flow or directly within a Canvas app, but we can also actually call these on say if a record gets created or deleted, it will execute as well, and they can be done pre or post operation. This is one of my favorite things about low code plugins, in that I can actually call them to do something before it's basically visible on the screen. So a common one is if I'm creating a contact in Dataverse and I want to use a full name, and I put in the first name and the last name, it will actually appear more or less straight away on the saving of that record because it's done pre-operation, which is great. And if we're using instant plugins, they can be fed inputs and give outputs as well. So what that means is I can give my plugin something to process, and it's going to give us a result as well, so they're great for that too. We can leverage integrations into plugins as well. We've got access to the connector library, so all of those connectors that we know and love within Power Apps. I think it's over 1,400 now. We can leverage within low-code plugins. Streamlines the logic handling as a result, again using that Power Effects capability. And we can integrate it with AI as well. So, we can feed it AI prompts and stuff, and it will give us the output of that. So that works really well. So just to kind of finish this off, I want to quickly show a quick demo of some of these before we get into the summary. So if we look at a custom page, this is an example I've created in the past where it's just more or less a template of what a custom page can look like. I can just effectively lift and shift this for any requirements I now have. It's very straightforward in how it works. It's responsive. One thing to note, I do use the creator kit components, although my kind of dependency on that's being kind of a bit less and less now with the introduction of modern controls, and things becoming a bit more in parity with what the creator kit was originally trying to achieve. Onto the modern commanding. So yeah, this is obviously the modern commanding interface where I can just effectively create a new command button, I can add one to the ribbon, give it a name, an icon if I want. It's all basically click straight through what I want to do. And then for some reason this is broken. I don't know if anyone else is having this. It had fixed itself, but I've seen this in the past where I can actually select Power Effects here, but there is usually an option to select Power Effects, and then I can use the Power Effects that we know and love up here. But if I want to run JavaScript, I can do that as well. And the same for the visibility. There would be an option there for Power Effects. And then lastly, what low-code plugins look like. And again, this is in preview, and I know it's changing a little bit, but I can then come into the Dataverse Accelerator app and create an instant or automated plugin here. I can give it a name, specify the table I want to create a plugin for, and give it my expression there. What's quite cool about this for the eagle-eyed of you use there is that this is actually using a custom page as well, so it gives you a bit of an indication of some of the capabilities that we can kind of harness within custom pages and low code and model driven apps. So just to come back to my slide deck and just give a bit of a summary, harnessing low code and model driven apps, it gives us more choice when we're developing. We don't want to be as limited as we maybe have been in the past. We all know we've got things like business rules, business process flows within model driven apps. This just gives us another kind of feather in our cap to use. We can overcome those technical barriers quicker because we don't need to actually resort to pro code methods all the time now. If you come from a pro code background, then great. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't, then the low-code option's there now, and it makes it a bit more simple. And yeah, less complex as a result, because I'm not having to leverage things like C# or JavaScript as frequently. And yeah, just to summarize on all of that, combining both of them is really powerful as well. And we can do more with both when we use them together. And that's it from me. I just want to say thank you. And yeah, please connect with me on LinkedIn or check out my blog.
Josh, excellent job as well. Great stuff there, my friend. I really appreciate you sharing those tips and those overviews. The demos were fantastic. Well, I tell you, everybody, holy cow! Yes, holy cow! We had some amazing presenters there, and they were all 3 first-time presenters. So how awesome is that? They did so well, and I think they are well on their way to future sessions. So, EY, Val, Josh, excellent job. Thank you, the 3 of you, so much for coming on the call today to share with us your passion. All right, let's talk about some resources that are available to each and every one of you. We've got our community sites and forums that you can be part of for Power Platform videos and samples and prompts and community for Power Apps, Automate, Power Pages. All of the powers are there, and you're able to collaborate with other members of the community within those forums. So great opportunity. And if you're here, then you probably like community calls, and we do too. So we've got plenty more for you to take advantage of. Please don't hesitate. Our first is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Microsoft speakers only call. This is on break until the 3rd of September, so a lot of folks in Microsoft are taking the summer off, so we wanted to give them a break, and so this will be back on the 3rd of September. But that is only for Tuesday, everybody. Only for Tuesday. All the Thursday calls, as well as this monthly call, is not on a break. Obviously, you're here, and so are we. So the Power Platform Monthly is alive and well. Office add-ins, the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community, and the sibling Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework. Those are the bi-weekly Thursday calls. Those are not on a break. They're absolutely available to everybody. Every Thursday, we've got one tomorrow. The Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community is tomorrow at 7 a.m. Pacific time. You can get access to all the latest invites, and you might want to do that if you're looking at some of those older AKAs. We'll get those updated. But if you've got some of those older Power App referenced AKAs, maybe you want to go to aka.ms/community/calls, get the newest ones, download those ICS files, get them onto your calendar. They will reference all of the most up-to-date AKA links that will give you access. So take advantage of that. And of course, all the agendas are also published in the meetup. So aka.ms/community/meetup. We also have a Discord server, so we're in there with the cool kids. We need to get this AKA updated as well, but you can access it very soon at aka.ms/community/discord, and it's a great way to kind of talk about a number of different topics, all within one location if you like Discord. We'd love to also hear from you on feedback. If you are enjoying these calls or would like to provide any feedback or would like to see some things that maybe are a little different or it's just going well for you, it lets everybody on the team know that we are doing what you're liking, so let us know. Well, we want to again thank you all, our 3 amazing presenters. Woo! Yeah, awesome stuff. The recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel. It will not be available within Teams if it tells you it's available. It's a pretty little liar because you have to be part of that tenant. But if you go to aka.ms/community/YouTube, that will give you the opportunity to subscribe. And if you subscribe and you opt in for all those alerts, then you will be alerted as soon as the new videos drop, which is the best way. We try to get them edited out as soon as possible and within less than 24 hours. You can also follow us on X or Twitter or whatever it's called next, or the LinkedIn updates, aka.ms/community/li. Our next call, August 21st, 2024. You can get access to, again, aka.ms/Power Platform community call. Thank you, everybody. You are the best part of this community. We would not be possible to have these calls at all without your passion and your love for the technology and working within the community. So have a great rest of your month, great rest of your week. And for those that will be on the call tomorrow, see you then. Bye-bye.